Hi, this is Rolin from Xinhua. I'm now here at Meijiang Convention and Exhibition Center in Tianjin, where the 14th annual meeting of the New Champions is now underway. This year, the World Economic Forum is returning to the tradition of convening a Summer Davos after 4 years, with the theme being entrepreneurship, the driving force of global economy. The forum will be held from June 27 to 29, gathering over 1,500 global leaders from nearly 90 countries. And the participants are from business, government, civil society, international organizations, as well as from among innovators and academics at a crucial time of global economic recovery. So what should be done to address these pressing global challenges? Now let's hear from these global leaders.
Yes.
So China actually has been doing combating desertification in recent years, and it's on its top agenda. So what do you think of China's efforts in combating desertification?
Well, I think China is doing a great job in combating desertification. We have had discussions with, for example, Elion Foundation, and some of the activities that they have been doing. And bringing these technologies together from China, from Norway, from other parts in the world to combat desertification on a global scale has a lot of potential. Actually,
I'm really curious because you're from Norway, right? But I guess there is not much desert in Norway. So what inspired you to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there is no desert in Norway at all. And we want to keep it that way. And our idea started by discovering some initiatives they were working on in Egypt. And our co-founder and inventor, he was always a curious researcher. So he looked into solutions they were trying to find in Egypt that was linked to the building of the Aswan Dam that caused the desertification and degradation of the region. So when he read about this and various types of natural minerals and clays that they were using, this was also things that he was using in Norway and oil and gas industry, and some of the knowledge areas we have about rheology, geology, fluid dynamics, etc., that led to the innovation of liquid natural clay, LNC, from Desert Control.
That's really cool. I noticed that you're wearing a pin of SDGs. Yes, because I was having an internship in the UN Development Program, and I also keeping contact with many entrepreneurs. And this year's theme of the Summer Davos is entrepreneurship, the driving force of the global economy. So what's your opinion on this theme? What do you think of it?
No, I think entrepreneurship to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and the green shift and combating areas that we are working on is extremely important. I think that the problems that we're facing today cannot be solved with the same kind of thinking that created them. And that's where entrepreneurship, where innovators and startups come into the picture. And I think that that's an important part of the solution. And I think we also need to revisit certain parts of the financial ecosystems to make sure that we also, to a greater extent, embrace entrepreneurships and innovators to bring forward and truly accelerate solutions for a better future for people and planet.
Could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Adewumi Owolabi. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the managing director of Aerobic Agroforestry Limited, and that is where we produce seedlings and then we do deforestation projects. Let me start from my country.
Oh, sure.
A lot of infrastructure has been developed in my country today, and Chinese are key partner. We have train facilities. It's been built by Chinese. We have university, I think about 2 of them, being built by university. We have roads being constructed by Chinese people. They have been a very wonderful partner to my country, no doubt about that. And I have also worked with many of them too in the past. So that is, as a company, as an individual, Chinese people are very fantastic. They're very enterprising. Their dedication to work is top notch. The focus, the experience, come on, just mention anything. Chinese people have been quite very amazing. And the project they are doing in my country always very lasts. It lasts for quite a long time.
Is this your first time in China?
No, this is my probably fifth time.
First time in Tianjin?
Second time in Tianjin.
Second time in Tianjin. So have you ever been to Summer Davos before?
Yes, absolutely. I'm one of the young global leaders here.
Wow, that's cool. So do you have any expectation of this year's Davos?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. You know, I run a foundation called I Am the Code, where I teach young women and girls how to code. And today we launched our platform in Chinese for young women and girls to learn how to code and programming.
So you talk about girls and young women. Do you mind if you briefly introduce your what are you doing?
Absolutely. So I run a foundation called I Am the Code. It is a YGL Young Global Leaders initiative. So here at the World Economic Forum, we have a community of young global leaders. And so I'm one of them in 2013. And so I come to China all the time. And this time I'm here to launch the I Am the Code platform, where we can teach young women and girls how to code, including Chinese girls. You know, the relationship between Africa and China is very important to us. Digital economy is growing in Africa, and Chinese investment is also important there. So as a technologist, it's a very important day for us to come and launch this platform here in China. One thing is important is that, you know, the relationship between Africa and China is absolutely important to us. The Chinese investment in Africa, especially now on AI, machine learning and big data, is absolutely important. So we need to give young women and girls opportunities. Chinese women and girls are extremely clever, extremely intelligent, some just like you, and who can do amazing work. So if we can upskill them, open markets for them, give them opportunities, I think that could be very good for the China and Africa relationship. You know, investment is needed in Africa right now, and the digital economy is growing, so I'm extremely happy that we are here.
So you talk about AI, right? So how can artificial intelligence technologies could protect the right of young women?
I think, you know, AI now is a very important topic across the world, and I think it could elevate poverty, you know, it could bring more transparency, you know, eradicate corruption in Africa, for example, and in many countries actually, because you can actually see the data, you can see what people are doing. And so teaching young women and girls skills of tomorrow, the future of jobs they need, you know, AI will bring some new jobs that we don't have. And whereas China is an amazing country where we can actually improve the skills of people, right? At the World Economic Forum, we have something called the Reskilling Platform. The Reskilling Platform is aiming to get 1 billion people by 2030 to be reskilled as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. And China is absolutely important in this conversation. So we would like young women and girls, you know, here in China, you know, especially post-COVID-19, when we didn't have many opportunities coming to China, doors being closed for many, many reasons. I think now is the right time for us to look into new skills, technology, innovation, work with Chinese businesses to bring innovation in Africa. And AI is absolutely important, so my work is very focused on AI, machine learning and big data. And as you know, China, you know, has got data centers. China is now looking into renewable energy, you know, and I think that we need to look into the relationship between Africa and China. We have a lot of Chinese people in Africa who are building businesses, helping the African continent. So I think right now is the right time. I'm very excited about the AI that is happening right now, and I think China can play a lead, you know, in the AI conversation across the world, and I'm very excited about it.
Thank you so much. Could you please briefly introduce yourself first?
Sure. I'm Omer. I'm CEO and co-founder of a company called Abi, which is a fintech lending platform in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the Middle East.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, welcome to China. So this is your first time in China?
No, been many times.
Many times. What about Tianjin? Your first time in Tianjin?
First time in Tianjin.
What's your impression of Tianjin?
Amazing city.
Okay. So what's your expectation of this year's Davos, Summer Davos?
Is to exchange ideas with like-minded people, those who can help us in terms of being able to build our company even stronger within the region we are, and hopefully expand further and possibly raise some capital from here as well, and just have a general forum of exchange.
So what kind of message do you want to convey in this year's forum?
That financial inclusion is a very important part of, I think, a global impact of what's happening right now, especially in the recession. And our regions are spaces where there is very little credit penetration. So we want to be able to foster more ties with other countries, to be able to bring in more investment and allow for financial inclusion to take place in the territories we function in.
So what kind of role do you think China could play in the post-pandemic economic recovery?
So China is really one of our, I'd say, North Stars globally, especially when it comes to financial inclusion, the likes of Ant Financial, Alipay, etc., to see how credit penetration was really being built over here over the last decade is something that we can learn from. So we would love to be able to engage with companies and even stakeholders in the government level to be able to allow for investment into other places to be able to have the same prosperity that happened in China in our region.
Thank you. So China has been widening its opening up its market. So how do you think of China's determination and pace of its openness?
I mean, it's fantastic. I think obviously there's geopolitical noise that's going on right now, but I've been coming to China for the past decade, and it's only been stronger and stronger every time I've come. So I think it's truly one of the strongest players globally, and support from China is going to be something that's important from a global economy standpoint.
Could you please first briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Long Wai Ling here from CDPQ, Caisse de Dépôt. We're a pension fund from Quebec, Canada.
Canada?
Yes.
Okay. So is this your first time in Summer Davos?
Yes, correct.
So how do you feel about this year's Davos, or what's your expectation of this year's forum?
My expectation, I think there are twofold. So first of all, I think this should be a good networking opportunity. And secondly, what CDPQ is very interested in is constructive capital. And we hope to be able to meet like-minded companies and individuals on investing in terms of sustainability, in terms of climate change, and the new technology.
Okay, that's cool. So you must have some agenda here, and could you please share with us what message do you want to convey in this forum?
Well, I'm meeting with some partners, existing partners, and some potentially new partners. I think the message is that this is really, I see this as part of, this is the Summer Davos, so it's quite an international group of people that are networking here. So I think the takeaway should be that particularly when it comes to climate, how do we work together? Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever been to Beijing before.
Yes.
Actually, we're from Beijing, and the climate, the weather in Beijing in the past few days was above 40 degrees centigrade. So on climate change, China also has done a lot of work. And
correct.
How do you comment on China's efforts in alleviating climate change?
Sure. I think climate. Whether we're talking about climate mitigation, whether we're talking about adaptation, whether we're talking about energy transition. Personally, I do not think that one country alone and one country alone can do the job.
Yeah, that's
that's why I stress that hopefully Davos is a platform where international players can do this together, because I don't think any country or any region alone can do it.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, so what do you think the economic growth? Do you think that economic growth and combating climate change is, counter each other?
I think there will be some short-term challenges, and that is why I think all of the government have to be actively involved. So it has to be, and also I think private sector like ourselves. So as I said, it takes everybody. It takes the government, it takes private sector, it takes the multilateral development agencies, it takes family foundations, it takes some of the development agencies, globally. So it literally, you are really talking about a global community that needs to come together, because I don't think some of these very tough and challenging economic discussions, you can't have it within the private sector alone. But on the other hand, you can't just leave it to the government. So everybody has to come together.
Could you please first briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Hu Xinhua, English name Matthew Hu. So I'm representing a charity here about heritage preservation.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that area is pretty new to me. Could you please elaborate on what message you want to convey in this forum?
I'm here actually to learn, to meet people. I think cultural heritage preservation is a very important issue. So for Beijing, for Tianjin, these are all Asian cities. So all these cities are, they have their own heritage to preserve. These are the identity of these cities. So it's quite important to keep these cities alive, continue its tradition. So that's what I mean. Yeah.
So cultural heritage is kind of historical.
Historical, yes.
Yeah. And what kind of new technologies are we now adopting on these on preserving these historical sites?
Digitalization is a very important part of it. So, for example, the murals of Dunhuang needs to be digitalized so that we can get more people to learn about it.
Could you please elaborate on the digitalization used in the protecting historical sites?
Most of the cultural heritage sites are very fragile, not only because of the human interference, but also because of the climate change. So it's very important to digitalize them at this moment so that we can pass it on to the future generation. And if in case, for example, there is a very famous wooden bridge in Fujian province last year. It was burned down during a festival. People were celebrating. There were some candles. It was burned down. But if we have digitalized it, then it will be very easy for us to rebuild it, reconstruct it. So passing down the technology in rebuilding this bridge, for example. So that's one very important part, incorporating innovation and technology.
Thank you for your elaboration. So, do you have any challenges? Do you have met any challenges during digitalizing these historical sites?
I think the funding is a very important issue, so that's why I'm interested in this forum. I'm sure there are many these multinational companies are very
Investors?
They're interested in taking up their own corporate responsibilities. So that's one part why I'm interested in this conference.
Yeah.
And the challenge, not only because of that, but also because of the sheer amount of work. So by digitalizing one cave, for example, in Dunhuang, it will take maybe a team of 10 to work on it for a full year. So that's a huge amount of work. And that's just one cave in Dunhuang. But in Gansu province, we have, I believe that we have more than 100 caves. So that's a very big number. And all over China, according to the third census that we have done 10 years ago, we have more than 760 different unmovable, tangible heritage sites. So that's a very big number, not including all the movable cultural relics in the museums. So that's a huge challenge.
Okay. So do you have any international cooperation in terms of restoring these historical sites? Because I learned that many of our Chinese relics are actually now overseas, are not at home. International cooperation is a very important issue in terms of preserving cultural heritage.
I think at the moment we are not. We are looking forward to have this kind of collaboration with international museums and also corporations, so that we can bring back some of the digitalized heritage. Actually, at the moment in the State Museum in Beijing, we have an exhibition about Asian Chinese paintings, and these paintings were not brought back physically, but digitally. So they were brought back and they were reprinted in China, so people can, all the art lovers can still go there and learn from the Asian artists, because it's very high resolution photos, digitalized, so we can look at all the details very closely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. There's still 2 days left. For more on Summer Davos in China, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And that's all for today's show. See you next time.